Welcome back. The UN's Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has appealed to the United States government to overhaul its migration policy of detaining children, even if held with their parents. In the latest criticism from the United Nations in a week that saw President Donald Trump backtrack on a policy that separated children from their parents when crossing the southern border with Mexico irregularly, the global organization has argued that it's never in the best interest of the children to be detained at all due to the actions of their parents.
With the signing of this executive order to rescind the policy, children would no longer be separated from their parents, while those that had would be reunited. But the UN says that's still not good enough.
The US government's decision not to continue separating children from their parents, we understand that the practice now will be to detain the children with their parents. We have said time and again that children should never be detained for reasons related to their or their parents' migration status. It is never in the best interest of the child for them to be detained.
The High Commissioner for Human Rights earlier described the decision to separate children as child abuse and unconscionable. Although seemingly unrelated, the US withdrew from the Human Rights Council the very next day.
We are calling for the US to overhaul its migration policies, and we're calling for the implementation of non-custodial, i.e. non-detention, non-custodial and community-based alternatives to detention for children and families. These alternatives should fully respect the human rights of migrants, and they should be based on the logic of care rather than of law enforcement.
Meanwhile, some separated families have already been reunited, like this mother and son. She says she's very happy to find her son, saying it made her sad when she saw him for the first time because he's the only child she has.
So one thing that the president is planning on is just detaining families throughout their immigration proceedings, and that could last a very long time. We have a very backlogged immigration court, so sometimes, depending on the types of proceedings, these go on for years. The president knows that this actually goes against certain court rulings that came down out of federal courts in California in 2015 and 2016.
An issue not going away anytime soon that could turn into a major midterm election issue come November. While concerns remain about the country's broader immigration policy that has seen lawmakers deadlock in Washington over reforms, President Trump's reversal this week will be viewed as a small victory against someone who doesn't often backtrack, let alone apologize. But in an earlier tweet Friday, President Trump called for the maintenance of a strong southern border, quote, "We cannot allow our country to be overrun by illegal immigrants as the Democrats tell their phony stories of sadness and grief, hoping it will help them in the elections." Sherman Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.